Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ben here. I'm back again today doing another video, and the subject of today's video is going to be on the Sacramento Kings. To me, the Sacramento Kings are a cool, fun team. Historically, over the last 10 years or so, they've been a very bad franchise. They've been high up in the lottery every year, picking guys, somewhere between the fifth, fourth, third selections in there, and they just have never really um, bounce back with this rebuild that they've been trying to do. They kind of had a failed DeMarcus Cousins rebuild, and now they're in the middle of a De'Aaron Fox rebuild that seems to be going okay so far. Uh, Last year they had their highest win total in several years. They had 39 wins and 43 losses, so it's the best season that franchise has had in a while. And I think most people would say that this franchise is on the rise rather than falling back down. I think that they have a pretty promising future. I like their core pieces of Fox, Buddy Hield. Uh, I like those two pieces a lot, and I think that they can do a lot of things to support those guys and become a playoff contender. So today I've devised 5 trade possibilities for the Kings to improve their franchise and make them more of a contender than they are right now. So I'll just get into the trades and here we go. The first trade I have is the Kings and the Thunder. I have Steven Adams going to the Kings in exchange for Dwayne Dedmon, Corey Joseph, and a 2022 first round pick. So why do the Thunder do this? Well, um, in my opinion, you got Steven Adams, who's a dude he's a good player on a contender right now, but I don't really know how he fits on a Thunder team that is just in no man's land. And so I think that they should try and get off of his really big contract. You break that down to Dedmon and Corey Joseph, who are pieces that with smaller deals, each making around 12 to 13 million, you can move them on in other trades much easier than the 25, nearly 26 million that Steven Adams is making. And then along with that, you add a first round pick to add to your cachet of first round picks that you can either keep or at some point trade, like they're probably going to do with a lot of those first round picks that they've accumulated. As for the Kings, I like this trade basically because they get an upgrade at center and Steven Adams. He'd be better than Dwayne Dedmon. And for the Kings, your starting lineup after this could look like um, probably like Fox, Hield, uh, Harrison Barnes, Bielitsa, and then Adams with a bench of um, probably I'm thinking Marvin Bagley, Trevor Ariza, Bogdan Bogdanovic. So that's a pretty solid team right there. And you don't really have to give up that much if you're the Kings, honestly. You're giving up 2 guys that might be bench players along with a first round pick. But if you turn into a good team, that's not too big of a sacrifice, really. Second trade I have on here is the Cavaliers trading with the Kings. The Kings getting Kevin Love in exchange for Bielitsa and Harrison Barnes. So why would the Cavs do this trade? Well, they get a much younger player in Barnes than Kevin Love. I believe Kevin Love is 30 this year, whereas Harrison Barnes is still only like 26. Um, and he can give you honestly similar offensive production to what Love has been giving you. Love's basically good for 18 points a game, and that's what Harrison Barnes has been putting up the last couple of years. He's younger and he frees up a lot of the clogged space at power forward and center, where they already have John Henson, Tristan Thompson. Let's see here. They have John Henson, Tristan Thompson. They've got one other guy in there too. Oh, Larry Nance Jr. Uh, so Ante Zizic. So you free up some space there, and then you get some. You make up for the shooting that you lost in Love by getting Bielitsa back. And then as for the Kings, you get the best player in the trade, and you get a guy that can slot nicely into your starting lineup. You could either do a really offensive oriented lineup and do something like Fox, Hield, Bogdanovich, Trevor Ariza, and Kevin Love, or you could do a more traditional lineup and go something like Fox, Hield, Ariza, Bagley, and Kevin Love, or Kevin Love and Dwayne Dedmon, or Bagley and Dwayne Dedmon, and use Kevin Love as a super 6 man. So any of those are possibilities, but I just think that this greatly bolsters their offense and that you get another legitimate scoring option. Like Harrison Barnes is legitimate, but there are nights when he can go a little cold. Whereas I feel like Kevin Love, he can go cold, but just his shooting ability, he kind of combines what Harrison Barnes and Bielitsa can give you into one player. Like consistent. 18 points per game, but a shooting presence from the outside too. The third trade I have on here is probably the one that seems like it would make the least amount of sense, but just hear me out when I talk about it. So I have the Kings trading with the Hornets. I have the Hornets getting Harrison Barnes and Corey Joseph, and I have the Kings getting Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Marvin Williams, and Malik Monk. So why would the Hornets do this trade? Well, they essentially trade a bunch of role players for a dude in Harrison Barnes who would honestly plug in and be their best player instantly. So from that perspective, I can see why they would do it. They would give them a guy who would be a consistent 20 points per night that they could just dump the ball to night in and night out. Corey Joseph would be a nice backup behind Terry Rozier, who they don't even necessarily have right now, a good backup point guard. So that makes sense for them, I think, and you could just get a little bit more direction, as in, okay, we've got a guy who can be our main scorer, rather than like basically right now the Hornets have no direction whatsoever, and we're probably going to have Terry Rozier being their leading scorer every night with like 20 points per game on like 38% shooting from the field, which would be awful. But then as for the Kings on the other side, you get a lot of nice supporting pieces, which it's not like this team lacked depth, but I just really like this trade for them in that they basically trade Harrison Barnes for Williams and Kidd-Gilchrist, and then Malik Monk is just to make the salaries work, honestly. Um, so your starting lineup after this would probably look like Fox, Heald, Ariza, Marvin Williams, and Dwayne Dedmon, and then I think you'd have a bench of Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, um, Marvin Bagley, um, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Bielitsa. That would be a terrific bench, maybe one of the bench units in the league. And so I like this trade a lot for them from that perspective, in that they just get really deep. And I feel like they'd sort of be like a slightly better version of what the Clippers were last year, with no strikingly fantastic players, but just like a lot of depth. And I think that that'd be really good for this franchise to develop. Next, I have a trade between the Kings and the Magic. I have the Magic getting Dwayne Dedmon, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Tyler Linden, and a 2021 first rounder for Nikola Vucevic. So why would the Magic do this? Well, basically they're trying to develop Mo Bamba, and I don't think he's going to ever develop if he's only playing 15 minutes a night playing behind Vucevic. So if you trade him, you bring in Dwayne Dedmon. Dwayne Dedmon can be like a spot starter for you, but he can honestly start to take on that backup role to Mo when Mo needs to get more minutes. Bogdan Bogdanovic is nice wing depth, which the Magic don't necessarily have. They are starting Jonathan Isaac and um, Evan Fournier, but in my opinion, Jonathan Isaac is more of a power forward thing, so he should be more of their backup power forward, and you should be starting Terrence Ross at the small forward, but that leaves you without a backup wing, so Bogdan Bogdanovic can fill in that. Tyler Linden is honestly just cap filler, and then the first round pick is because just a straight up Dedmon and Bogdanovic for Nikola Vucevic isn't exactly fair, so I threw in a first round pick. And then yes, the Kings get Nikola Vucevic. He can plug in as their starting center who can space the floor and score in the post. He can kind of do it all on offense as a center in the league nowadays, except bring the ball up the court, really. Um, I like this starting lineup. If you look at it, it would be something like Fox, Heald, probably then Harrison Barnes, Marvin Bagley, and Nikola Vucevic with like Ariza and Bielitsa off the bench. I like that unit a lot. The offense would be tremendous, I think. So yeah, I like this trade a lot for the Kings. They get a lot better offensively. And lastly, I have the home run swing, and who knows if this trade would ever happen? Probably not, but it would be kind of cool to see it happen. Okay, I have it between the Spurs and the Kings. I have the Kings getting DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge. I have the Spurs getting Harrison Barnes, Dwayne Dedmon, Bielitsa, Trevor Ariza, a 2020 first round pick, and a 2022 first round pick. So why would the Spurs do this, you're asking? Well, this franchise is going nowhere. They're going to best case scenario, honestly, best case scenario, not going nowhere, but they're just stuck in no man's land, especially in this Western Conference. Their ceiling is like a 46 win team that loses in the first round, or maybe makes a second round if they play a team who has a devastating injury. That's the ceiling for this team. And the floor is that this team finishes like 40 and 42 and misses the playoffs, but yet they've got a core of like guys who are 28 and 29, and they don't really know um, what to do now because they basically be like Pistons West, where they've got these guys in their prime who are ready to contend, but they just aren't really going anywhere. I'm not trying to bash the Spurs, but that's just sort of the predicament they're in the loaded West. So in this trade, they get off these guys who are between Aldridge being 33 and DeMar being 29. They get a bit younger with Dwayne Dedman, who's like 26, Harrison Barnes, who's 26, Bielitsa, who's like also 25, 26. Ariza's like 32, but or 33, but still generally you get younger. And then you get two first round picks in 2020, which could be a lottery pick potentially even, and 2022, which might not be lottery, but still could be pretty good. And then you also give guys who are young, like Jakob Poeltl, a chance to start. You kind of can give the keys over of the franchise to guys such as DeJounte Murray and Bryn Forbes and just see what they can do. And I think that it could, if the Spurs were committing to a rebuild, this would be a decent package, I think. Okay, and then as for the Kings, they just get a great two additions to add to their current core. You could have a starting lineup here of Fox, Heald, probably then DeMar DeRozan at the 3, at the 4, Marvin Bagley, at the 5, LaMarcus Aldridge, with a bench of Bogdan Bogdanovic, Rashawn Holmes, Harry Giles, Yogi Ferrell. You'd still Corey Joseph. You'd still have a decent team, honestly, even though you've given up a lot of depth. And they just have this heightened star power where De'Aaron Fox could be whipping the ball around to everybody, and the basketball would just be played beautifully. So that'd be pretty cool to see. That's all the trades I got for today, guys. Let me know below what you think. If you have any thoughts, comments, or trades of your own to suggest for the Kings, I'd be interested to hear them. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.